Alrighty, welcome back to the Tori Cruz Show, you guys. I am super stoked for today's guest. We have Tanya Memme with us. She is, you know what, like she has all these accolades that are freaking outstanding. But first and foremost, she's just a really, really amazing soul and a stand-up woman, an amazing mama, and just she has a thriving Hollywood career, you guys. And look, can I just tell you one thing? Like, she really isn't the typical thriving Hollywood career personality that you would think of. She's probably one of the most genuine, authentic, loving people you've ever met. And I will rattle off her accolades, but I'm super excited to dive into this. She's a thriving Hollywood career for 25 years. Miss World Canada, Emmy-nominated, award-winning TV host, star of A&E Sell This House, executive producer, and star of Smart Home Nation. And she also has a podcast called Life Masters. You guys, welcome Tanya to the show.
Hi, guys. Thanks, Tori. That was awesome. Wow, that was a really good intro.
Hey, you know what? I do my best. You know, I'm talking to a TV host here, so no pressure or anything, but this better be a good interview, right?
I know it will be for you.
Well, I'm super excited. I didn't even mention in our intro, but my Thrive Mastermind, if you are listening to this podcast prior to May 28th to 2022, Tanya is actually one of our amazing speakers at our Thrive Mastermind. And so we're super, super excited to have her as a speaker. We're having this mastermind alongside the Global Beauty Awards Show 2022, the 5th annual. And it's going to be an awesome weekend up in Seattle.
Yeah, I can't wait. And then thank you for having me be a part of your event too, the Thrive event. Looking forward to that.
Absolutely. I'm so excited to meet your daughter who's coming as well, who I've heard so much about. And Tanya, I just want to let's just dive into how in the heck did you get into a Hollywood career, and where did this whole journey begin? Because you're from Canada.
Yeah, well, it was, this was a long time ago, but it really, honestly, Tori, it began with pageants. It really did. Like back in the day, because I'm a little, older than you are, but that's okay. But back in the day, we had Star Search, and that was pretty much it, right? So there was no real way to get into Hollywood or into the acting business at all. I wanted to become an actress to begin with. But so like, what do? The only thing available is really pageants to get started. And so I had no idea I'd ever win anything, but I started off as, trying to go for Miss Teen Niagara, and I didn't win that. And then I went to Miss Niagara and I ended up winning that. And then how it, you ended up winning Miss Canada and stuff. So that sort of started my journey. But I was always a dancer. I majored in business administration, minored in theater. So I always had that itch, right? And then I was engaged at 19. No, was I 19? No, 20. No, I was 23. I was engaged. And I called the wedding off like 5 days before the wedding. I was all depressed, whatever. My mom literally rips this little tag off of this. Hey, you should try for the American Musical and Dramatic Academy. And here's the number to call. The days when you'd rip off the little thing and you take it home and call from your landline.
I don't even know what that is, honestly.
No, you don't. I know. It was a long time ago. I just called and made an appointment, and I, gave them my resume or whatever. I would fax it in or however they send it in. I don't even remember how I did it. But yeah, I got a call to audition for the American Musical and Dramatic Academy. And so I did, and I got into the school. And so halfway through my Miss Canada reign, I literally just said, I'm done with this. I want to go and I want to move on with my life. And so I did. I landed in New York at 24, Manhattan, middle of Manhattan. And I didn't know one single person. And I worked really, really, really hard at that school. And I trained as a dancer, actor, singer. And then I sort of started off as an actress. I did a ton of commercials. And then I wasn't really getting, because I wanted to try for, Broadway shows and stuff. And I was an okay singer, not great. And you have to be like kick butt and everything, right? And I was an okay dancer, not great. So I did okay, did some off-Broadway shows, but then I just started to get jobs hosting. And that's just kind of where my career led me, was hosting. It took me, I've worked very, very hard to get the auditions and to become legal in the United States. And it was a grinding, grueling path to get to where I am, but especially with all of those obstacles, but that's really how it started. I just, it took me about 10 years to get my feet wet and figure it all out and work really hard and 5 jobs and live with, 5 girls in a 1-bedroom apartment. And like I was scraping together money and it was very hard, but working under the table, for cash, just doing whatever I had, hustling big time.
Yeah.
New York's a tough city when you don't know anybody, and you have no connections and you're just trying to be somebody.
Yeah.
And but I somehow, little by little, and I got a job hosting the show called on DirecTV, DirecTV, the big satellite company.
Yeah.
So they hired me when they had about 12,000 subscribers. Can you believe it? Now they've got like hundreds of millions. And I was the customer news anchor every month, every day. It would be on a cycle. So everybody that had DirecTV saw my face. Every time you turn it on, there I am going, and in today's customer news for DirecTV, da 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 da. So I did that show for probably 7 years. And then I started to get, I don't know, just like one thing leads to another. I got an agent and, then I got Sell This House, which I got in 2001.
Wow.
And I just finished shooting, last year.
Wow, that's crazy. 2001, and then it just got done filming.
Well, okay. So it was on for 10 years, went off for a few years, like 7 years. And then I did another show on Hallmark Channel during those years. But then I ended up quitting that show because craziness was happening on set and I just wanted something different. And then I went to, then A&E called me back again and said, we want to restart the show up and we can't do it without you. So I did 2.5 more seasons of Sell This House. And there is a possibility we could be doing a 3rd season, but then, I talked to you about what that meant for me, but that's really how it all started. Yeah.
Wow. What's so fascinating to me is when I hear these stories of, being a TV host, an actor, and oftentimes modeling, it's the same grind, but a lot of the times we're just looking at social media and we're seeing, oh my gosh, that girl is so gorgeous, she's modeling there, or oh my gosh, look at that really cool acting, gig that she got. And now TV hosting and broadcasting, all these things, it's like, whoa, oh my gosh. Like, and then we start this comparison trap, right? And so it's, you bring to life like the realness of, you said 10 years. And before you even landed, you said a TV job, right?
Yeah, I would say my first, I got little things here and there, but it wasn't anything that you could really pay your bills with. I did a lot of free work. I would do a lot of tiny little things. And it took about, I'd say it took a good, because I was 24 when I was in LA, and then I got Sell This House at like 30. So it was a little less years, but than that, but you're still like just starting. Like even Sell This House, I didn't know where it was going to go. The first few years I was making nothing on the show.
Yeah.
Not, you don't know where it's going to go. You don't know it's going to get a nomination for Emmys, and you don't know it's going to be on for 10 years. And then it's just, so yeah, you pound the pavement. I did everything. I was a doers girl. I was a Barbie. I went to the toy fair in New York. I was yo-yo skipper. I was a shoe model for about 5 years. I did shoe modeling. I did like everything, some print work. I was always too short. And, but just, I did anything and everything to pay those bills and figure it out. And it was hard. And I lived in the worst places of New York. Some of them I'd have to walk up 8, flights of stairs, dark and dingy. But I had to do what I had to do. What I could afford was what I could afford. And it was a grind. I don't know. And people ask me sometimes, if you knew that you were going to get to where you are, would you do it all over again? And I love where I'm at right now. And I love my relationship. I put that aside and my daughter and everything, but career wise, I don't know if I'd do it again. Yeah.
I love the honesty though.
Yeah. I don't know if I'd want to go through it again. I really don't.
What kept you hanging on those years of just like persevering? And you probably got told no a lot, I assume, as well. And what, like, did you have this massive dream or vision where you wanted to go that kept you hanging on to that like grit and perseverance?
Yeah, there was no plan B for me. This is what I wanted. This is what I was going to get. It was a lot of, I just knew I was going to get somewhere. There was no, and every no was just an opportunity. So I never stopped. And if I had no money, I would literally go out to the restaurant down the street, whatever, and ask if I could be their host at the front door. And can you pay me under the table? Like I was just always. And that is a gift you get when you're young.
Yeah.
When you're younger, it's true. Like you can do all of that. And the world is sort of in your fingertips, and it is very, you're capable of doing anything. I'm not saying that you can't when you're older. It's just a different mentality. You get, we get a little spoiled when we're older, right? We're like,
Yeah.
I'm done with that.
I'm sure your house didn't probably look any bit like the one that you're sitting in right now when you were going through the grind, right? So to go back and do that, it's like, is it worth it?
It was a lot. And but what kept me going was just I had no plan B, and I had this desire, and this, I know that you have it too, because you're like me. I was exactly like you when I was your age, and I could see it in you. You're not stopping. Like, you look at the glass half full, you keep going, and anyone that's not on your train, that thing.
Don't let the door hit you or the good Lord split you. That's really
exactly. And you just go, and a lot of it is mentality. A lot of it is how you think, how you choose to think. And if you're lazy, you're never going to get there. If you're ambitious, you will. I mean, and I am not the most talented person out there. Definitely not the most talented. There are people better looking, way more talented. They can host way better than me, but I was more tenacious than they were. And that's what it takes. It's not always the most talented person.
Yeah, that's the name of the game right there, is who's more tenacious, who's willing not to give up and just keep going through every single obstacle or challenge. And that's probably would you say that's one of the top things that have gotten to where you are today?
Oh, 100%. That is what got me there. I just stopped. And there were times when I made a complete fool of myself. I didn't care. I was always sort of breaking the rules a little bit, where if I had access to a network executive, I would contact them, I would stay in touch, and everyone's like, oh, no. You know how you feel like, because that person is here, oh, don't reach out or don't whatever. I would always reach out. Like no one ever told me how I was going to do it. Yeah. And they love you for it. Mm-hmm. Like it ends up being amazing. Like don't let other people's fear hold you back. Yeah. If you have access to the top guy, go to the top. Yes. Don't go to the bottom and wait for them to go to the top, because it's not going to happen. Yes. And I mean that in a lot of aspects in life, but like I had a lot of no's. I mean, I had, you have 100 no's for every half of a yes. So yeah. And I was up for big stuff. Like I was top 3 to host Dancing with the Stars. And then it was down between me and one other person, and they chose her, and it was heartbreaking. And, I've had those jobs where I was right there on the end for jobs that would change my life. And it's hard when you get those no's, but I just picked myself up about 3 months later and kept going.
You know what? I was just going to ask you that same thing, because there's a lot of people on here that are a lot of girls who are pageant girls, but a lot of entrepreneurs also who are listening, all ages, all stages of life. And that's one of the biggest things is, what do you do when you get told no? It's something you've worked so dang hard for. It could change your life. And then you audition, you go for that job, you try out for that pageant, and then you're like, crap, that's a massive no, like door slammed to my face. How do you recover from something like that? And I liked what you said about 3 months later, instead of just being like, well, just push through it. Woohoo.
I was devastated. And the interesting thing is that I never watched the show again. Like I just couldn't. I never did. I just went on with my life. So that was my way of sort of blocking it. But since then, I've just become way more resilient. Like it's just, I've learned from multiple no's, and I've learned from having a few yeses that did change my life. And I'm a big believer though, that, it's a mixture of things, but I do believe that things happen for a reason. And, who knows why I didn't get that job, or, some of the other jobs on that level, but your life is not defined. It doesn't define me whether or not I was the host of Dancing with the Stars or not, or if you win Miss Universe or not, or Miss World. Like that you can't let that define you. You have to sort of look at what you have done and how far you have gotten and take it from there. Like I achieved a tremendous amount of success anyway. And how do I know that this next chapter in my life isn't going to be the most successful chapter? You know, I'm writing a book finally. I'm doing all these things that I actually really wanted to do, which that could be, you don't know where life is going to take you. But if you define yourself by that one goal or that one, it will cripple you because you're focusing on the wrong things. There's so many amazing things to life. And winning Miss Universe or winning Miss World or me hosting Dancing with the Stars is not the only thing. It's a minuscule thing in the whole amazing life that we live in. And so that can't be your purpose. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not as attached to stuff now. I'm very detached, you know, and if something amazing happens, I'm like, great, I go in 100%, but I don't put all my eggs in one basket spiritually and like mentally. And I have, because none of that defines me. Yeah. It's just another notch on your belt. Like you'll realize that once you do become Miss World, you do become Miss Universe, you have this amazing year and everything else. But then when you give the crown on to the next person, you're like, okay, well, now what do I do? You still start over again. You still have to.
Yeah. You know? I literally created a course, an online course exactly for that, because it's like, it's how to help pageant girls find their purpose through the journey of pageantry. Because oftentimes people do get to Miss USA, Miss World, you know, Miss Universe, and their whole identity has been wrapped up in this one thing called pageantry. And, you know, we use that for an example because we're both pageant girls at heart. We've had that amazing experience, but also it happens in multiple different fields of work, and your identity can get so wrapped up in things. And so my question to you is, do you think your identity has ever been wrapped up into, you know, the Hollywood life and the, you know, succeeding as an actor or a TV host?
Oh, 100%. And I had a very bad crash landing to sort of, you know, knock that out of me. So, yeah, I mean, I did have the Hollywood life. I was on like, at one point I was hosting 5 shows. I was traveling with 2 shows and hosting 3 local shows. Now the local shows were of course part-time, but the other 2 shows, I didn't have any kids at the time. And I was dating Michael Keaton, you know, the actor Michael Keaton. Oh yeah. Yeah. Him for 3 years. And I was traveling all over the place, and it was just, I loved it. It was fun, but I was not happy. And I wouldn't say that that relationship was a good relationship for me. You know, we had fun, but it wasn't a healthy relationship for me. Yeah. And no reason, nothing on him, nothing on me. It's just, there's better fits for certain people. Right. Yeah. But I was very caught up, and I was nominated for an Emmy while he and I were together. And like a lot of things, I was hosting Entertainment Tonight Canada. That was another one of the local shows part-time I was doing. And my career was at its height. I was doing like endorsement deals and tons of infomercials and all kinds of spokesperson work. And then I was doing the 2 shows, and I was turning work down left and right because I was overbooked. Yeah. And when it's interesting, because then I had a whole breakdown and I started to spiral downward. And a lot of that happens from a series of bad decisions. So once I hit the success, I had every business opportunity coming my way and this and that. And I started to make a series of bad decisions. I was not in a great relationship for me. So then I ended that relationship. And then I ended up getting married a couple of years later to another person who was not right fit for me. My daughter's father, who's a great father, but we should have always just been friends. Yeah. And then you're not happy there. And then I ended up working on a TV show that I wasn't happy there. And so it's funny how it happens, but be aware of how it happens. Yeah. And then you start, you know, spiraling down. And I ended up, anyways, in the end, I ended up losing like my marriage, my house, all my money, everything I worked for. The phone stopped ringing. Like it went from like way up here to like just gone. And and I'm a big believer that you'll never know who you truly are until you hit rock bottom. And then you find out who you really are. You become yourself because you're not anything. So, and the reason why I spiraled down is because I was holding on to the past. I was holding on to all these accolades. But if I'm not that, then what am I? And who am I? And I'd go to parties and they'd be like, so what are you doing now? And I'd be like, I have no idea. Yeah. But I would never say that now. Do you know what I mean? And so I was so attached to all the accolades and everything that you're saying, I couldn't break it. I didn't know who I was. And then when I lost everything, I was forced to discover who I was, because all that was gone, and no one is going to be there to throw out the life jacket to save you. You have to do it yourself. You got to decide, this is the day I'm not going to take this anymore, and make some changes.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was a whole series of events of getting myself back on track. But yeah, if you get attached to all your accolades, you have no idea who you are. Like, so, it's not worth it.
No, it's not. I mean, you get more attached of what you are with all of those accolades instead of who you are deep in your soul. And
yeah,
every day you're living to just impress other people, truly, is what we're talking about, right? Is like, you're just trying to like keep up with the Joneses. You're trying to make sure like you look great, you look successful. And it gets exhausting after a while. And truly, behind doors, you can break down, right? You break down and cry, and you're just like, you're almost living two different lives. And so
I lived two different lives for a long time. I was miserable on the show that I was on. I would go in front of the camera like, hey guys, it's me again. Da, 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 da.
yeah.
I loved my job. I loved hosting that show. I was one of the family members on the show. I loved it, but I wasn't happy with how I was being treated behind the scenes by some of the executive producers. And so that was tough. And then you go home to a marriage where it's just not working, and you get into this cycle. So yeah, but at the same time, so much came out of it as well.
Yeah. So what would you say now, looking back on those years of where you were really just like chasing the life that you thought you wanted, and you do have, I'm sure there's been phenomenal, we'll talk about that too, but just phenomenal benefits from the TV world and the industry. But looking back now, what would you say to anybody who's maybe struggling with their identity is caught up in their career, or chasing the next best thing, or maybe they're getting told no a lot and they're just like, they won't give up, which is good, but also like making sure their identity is not wrapped up in their accolades?
I mean, I think a lot of it is just taking time to learn who you are. Like they always say, be patient, because you can be chasing and chasing and chasing and chasing. And I mean, you have to, one of the best things you can ever do when you feel you're spiraling down, and this happens when you're spiraling down, like, but I got to do this and I got to start that business. And why didn't they return my call? And, why isn't that person my friend anymore? And what did I do? But I need to start selling this, and I need to, the website, and it can be, I've been through all of that. And you have to take the pressure off. And it is amazing what happens when you stop chasing life and you allow life to come to you.
Mm. So what was your process like once you found out, like once you were trying to discover who you were? What was that process like when you hit rock bottom and then you had to rebuild?
Wow. Okay. So, I had another podcast that I was doing 2 days ago. I was being interviewed and I haven't really come out publicly yet to talk about it, but I decided to, because it's all in my book.
Okay, let's do it, girl. I feel you. That a book is more like an exposure launch, not a book launch. It's an exposure launch.
It is.
Yeah. Well, if you feel comfortable sharing it, you can. If not, totally understandable too.
And everybody finds their way the way that they do. This is how I found mine. So I'm not telling anybody to do what I did, but it just happens in a variety of different ways. And I'll tell it in a nutshell. But basically, I had gotten to the point where I had completely lost myself. I was traveling to the UK I had a job, a hosting gig. I was filming in Paris, but I wasn't even, it was just a short thing. Don't think it like changed my life, because it wasn't. But I had an emotional breakdown in the shower, in the club lounge, in one of the showers. They found me like laying on the floor in the shower. I had just passed out. I was so depressed. So that was a moment. That was a thing. And then after that, I was like, okay, I have to figure this out. But I was just still going. So my girlfriend calls me. She's like, hey, I get back to the US and I'm in LA. And she says, I know you're really struggling. She goes, I'm about to have a shaman come to my house and we're going to do ayahuasca. Now, I don't know if you know what that is.
I'm not. Explain to me and the audience what that is.
Well, it's plant medicine.
Okay.
It's plant medicine where it's a very spiritual thing. It's basically like the life of the plant is speaking to you. It's a whole thing, right? I'm like, okay, whatever. I don't even know what it is, but I'm gonna go do it. I did not know what it was. I don't care. I literally was at such rock bottom. I didn't care if I didn't wake up the next morning. Like, it was really bad. And so I went there and I had this whole crazy experience. The details are in the book. In order for me to get into details, it would take up all the time we're talking about right now. But it was the hardest, the worst, and the most beautiful and the most incredible experience I've ever had in those 12 hours. It was nuts. And the medicine is going to sound crazy, but it told me why I was depressed. It said I was totally attached to my ego and I needed to break free of that, and that I had suffered a lot of loss, which I had. There's so many things I had lost that year. Aside from, my husband and all my money and my house. Meanwhile, I left my relationship, but you still have to suffer through the loss, right?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And then it said, you're suffering through a lot of loss, and here's how you're going to get. And I said, well, how do I get out of it? You end up having a conversation with this stuff. I know it sounds crazy, but this is what happened.
This is the woohoo stuff they talk about in LA, isn't it?
You don't have to believe me. All I know is this what it did. Changed my life.
I love it.
And it said to me, your best skill is interviewing people. It's when you're happiest is when you're interviewing people, which is true. I didn't realize it until I realized it. And then it said, I want you to interview 100 people that hit rock bottom and got out of it, and the answers will lie within that. So I did. I went on this, and then it said, then you're going to write a book, and that's where the answers lie. So I started heavy on this podcast called Life Masters. Mm-hmm. And I started interviewing 100 people. I think I'm on like my 86th interview. I haven't posted all my interviews because I'm really just posting my favorite ones. But I went on this journey, and about the 46th person I interviewed, I started to see all these similarities that people do. I'm like, wow. So they got into it because of this, but then they started to, it's the way they think and the way they start to believe, the words that come out of their mouth, how they speak. And it's whether you believe in God, whether you believe in the universe, whatever that is for you. Whatever you believe in Buddha, it doesn't matter. It's all the same loving energy, the same loving space that you start to connect with. And then that's really what's in all of us. God is in all of us, right? And love is in all of us. And anyways, long journey. So I started to put together all of these little connections, and I started to write about it. And then I started to implement it into my own life. And I was in this downward spiral for about 7 years. And within 8 months, I met the guy of my dreams. I ended all of my bad relationships with girlfriends, friends, family members. They were just they're out, done. Because it's a time of, when you're in repair, it's time for you to be selfish. It's time to be selfish and don't feel bad about it. So I did all these things. I'm hiking. I was in nature more. I started to appreciate this. I started to give more. I would go volunteer. Whatever they were doing, because they got out of it, I did it. And even the music you listen to stuff that makes you feel good. The things that are in your home, fill your home with things that you love. I got rid of every piece of furniture that reminded me of an ex-boyfriend. Do you know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean.
And I had a couch that I was attached to, and it was a very expensive couch. And I threw that thing out, broke my heart at the same time, but I knew it's what I needed to do.
Yeah. There's so much power in that.
So much power, letting go of stuff that isn't serving you. And I made all these decisions within 8 months. A&E calls me, and I'm not joking. I do believe in miracles. I just do, because this was nuts what happened to me. I met the guy in my dreams. A&E calls me and says, hey, we want to bring back your show. What? The show was dead 7 years ago. 7 years ago.
Wow.
We want to bring it back, and we want to know if you want to host it, because we can't do it without you, because we think you're fabulous. And
I have the goosebumps right now.
Yes.
That is crazy.
Crazy
God.
And within 8 months, I'm not only hosting Sell This House, I also finally had a network by one of the shows that I had produced. So I'm now executive producer of a different show and hosting it. And it was I had my career back. I had the most amazing man. A little while after that, I'm living in the Palisades. My daughter's happy. She's we're all thriving. And it happened all within a year. I can't explain what happened, but it did. And I'm not saying go do ayahuasca. You need to find it in your own way. but it's true. Like a lot of people believe in plant medicine. There's a lot of power to that. Do your research on it and stuff. But it's, you can find it in God. You can find it but a lot of it has to do with your mentality and your energy. And like I said, the words that come out of your mouth and how you feed yourself with your words and your thoughts. And every time at night, because at night is when your mind goes berserk and crazy. Every time I started to swirl down and, oh, what about this and that? And like, I get panic. I had panic attacks for 5 years. Every time that happened, I would put on my, so I love Joe Dispenza. I just think he's one of my favorites. And there's a few that I follow. I would put on one of his meditations and it would just switch my frame of mind. So I wouldn't allow my thoughts to go down the rabbit hole, because you are in control of your thoughts.
Yes.
And so choose to listen. The minute you're going down that, just get on your little headphones in the middle of the night. Even if you have a husband right beside you, put on your headphones and lay there and do like a meditation, or just listen to nice music, something that switches your brain pattern. And I'm telling you, all of it, whatever I did worked. And it's very powerful stuff.
Wow.
So I'm writing all about it in my book. That's what
I am so excited to read your book. And honestly, I'm just super, super happy for you. Because you deserve a happy and fulfilled life. And I love seeing like the photos of you and your boyfriend and your daughter, and congrats on the new house too, in the Palisades. Like, that's just amazing. And you're so deserving of it, honestly.
Well, but we all are, right? We all
Absolutely. Everybody is. But like you said, you have a choice. And so that's really what I want to touch on for a second too, is like, you made a choice to do whatever you had to do, because you're in a desperate state where you just anything, and you never know of like you try something new, and that could be the one thing that could change your life. And so it's just taking that one next step, just like you did, and doing the plant medicine that you didn't even know what it was. And then it's just like poof, it's like, God works in miraculous ways, and like then bringing back the show and all that, like it's just one step. So if you're listening to this, I just encourage you to like maybe re-listen to Tanya's story there, and just hopefully that encourages you to just take that next step. If you're down in the dumps right now and you don't know what else, like just do something. Be open and stop chasing life, because life will present opportunities to you that you wouldn't even notice was there if you're like, swirling your brain all over the place, which is what we do when we're in survival mode, I love everything that you're saying. It's true. And it's not easy. It is not easy. I'm not saying it's a simple thing to do, but, and another thing too, is I had to get out of victim mode. You have to admit that you're in victim mode when you're there. Well, it's because of this and that. It's because I quit the show because of whatever was quite, I was in victim mode for many years, and I didn't realize I was. And when you stop blaming your situation on your environment or anyone else or whatever situation, and you start picking up the pieces within yourself, and you really watch the words that you use, and you'll know if you're in victim mode or not. And your friends will tell you if you're in victim mode. Ask your friends. Yes. And ask them for the honest truth too. Yes. Because that's so crazy that you said victim mode, because I was talking to one of my clients yesterday, and she was just saying, she's like, she's in her mid 60s, and she just said, I just realized after going to an event and talking with you that I've been living in victimhood. And it's like, wow. And it doesn't matter where you're at in life. I mean, you could be in your 20s, or you could be all the way to your 60s or beyond that, anywhere in between. Like, there's no point where you can't stop working on yourself and to bring that freedom. And Tanya, I just want you to speak on that for a second too. Like, what kind of relief and freedom and weight off your shoulders have you felt since you actually took the time to do that self-development and personal work to get to this place now?
I mean, you asked such good questions, Tori. You're so awesome. You're rocking it.
Thanks.
But
Emmy nominated soon. I'm putting it out there.
Envision it, picture it, feel the weight of that award, and it'll happen. I'm telling you.
It's on the vision board right next to me. Okay, I got this.
Good. Yes. Awesome. But okay, now I can't even remember the question you asked because I was so into it.
Well, I was talking about the freedom that you felt since you took that step and did the work.
So the interesting thing is it's like I said before, that there's usually something in life that causes you to feel like you need to do the work. And I just talked about what happened to me, but, and I also believe what I said earlier is that you don't know who you truly are. You become yourself after hitting rock bottom. You really do, because there's nothing else but you. So you got to know yourself well, if you choose to get out of it. It is a choice. You can either sit there or stay there or not. But so what came from that, the most freedom I had was just me knowing that I got through the rock bottom, and it's never going to happen again, because I'm not afraid of it anymore. Because I do believe that we sort of attract our fears if we keep thinking about it. And that was one of my biggest fears. What happens if I lose everything? And what happens if this? And well, I did. And now I know, okay, I did that, been there, I survived, I'm here.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of power that comes with that, because when I ended up, having the show come back, like whether the show went through for 5 more seasons or 2 more seasons, I was okay either way. Like it didn't matter anymore. I wasn't attached to my career anymore. And I was like, okay, I'll just try something new, or there's so many other things to explore. Like you start to get excited again about life. And there's power in all of that, in knowing who you are. And I have a lot of peace now with my career and with just with my life. Like it's just, I'm really happy now. It's weird. And I still have my bad days, and I'm still frustrated, and I still, get upset. I'm in a bad mood, but nothing's my frame of mind now is so, the glass is half full, no matter what. There's certain things that throw you off. If you have a family member pass or things like that, that's tragic and that's upset. And that's, but once you heal from the stuff like that, and you're dealing with just the you things, it's amazing how powerful it can be once you start to stay in, and it really becomes who you are, if any of that makes sense.
Oh my gosh, totally. I mean, really in a nutshell, it's just that your broken times and your painful times are the times that are really going to lead you to your biggest breakthrough moments and success in life. And you're a living example of that, where you can be at rock bottom, and those most painful, darkest, broken moments have what led you to who really God created you to be. And so it's really cool to see and hear your story. And it's a beautiful journey that you've been on, and just super inspirational too. And kind of wrapping up here, I just want to go into, I'm sure there's some people listening that are like, well, this is amazing, and crap, now I got a lot of internal work that I need to do. And Tanya just inspired me to take the next step to do it. But they're also probably thinking, well, if I want to be a TV host, or if I want to, go out to Hollywood and live that life, or go to New York City and pursue acting and modeling and all that, maybe what are 2 to 3 different steps? I'm big on the action steps. So like, what are 2 to 3 different things that you would recommend to somebody who wants to get into the entertainment industry?
Well, the first thing I always tell people whenever they ask me that question is that dig really, really, really deep. Because if there is anything you'd rather do than this, go do that.
It's not for the weak.
No, and it's also not fun most of the time. It's really not. It's not fun most of the time. It's a massive grind. Mm-hmm. And also now in the business, it's very different than when I started, because there's so many streaming platforms now. Like you're lucky if you get, 50,000 people watching your show, whereas back in the day, they were shooting for 2 to 3 million people watching your show. So, and even you can be a total TV star and no one knows who you are. Like you have to also figure out why you want to do this. Like, is it that you're obsessed with being famous? Do you need that, that
validation?
Validation. Yeah. Is that what you're addicted to? Like really dig deep within and figure out why you want to do this. Why do you want to be famous? Because a lot of people now are becoming famous, but they they don't have finances. You know what I mean? They're just famous because they're influencers on Amazon, or they're on the next show but you can be on a show for 10 years and have nothing to show for it financially now, because it's just not the same. The business has totally changed. So know that going into it. But if you really, really, all that aside, and this is really what you want to do, I mean, there's different things as opposed to be a host as an actress. So my whole thing is like, you have to hone your craft. So, I mean, I took every lesson I could in acting and singing and dancing. I was well-versed. And once let's say you want to be an actress, you take an acting course, take a good one, find the money, because I did.
Yeah.
I busted my butt to find that money. So don't say you can't afford it, because you can afford it, especially when you're young. There's no excuse to find that money. So I found it. I would take classes. I was always in classes. And then what that happens is that then you have a network of people that are also taking classes. And some of those people have agents. And then you ask for referrals. And if people, that's the other thing. Nobody wants to refer anybody because they're all working out of fear in this business. Like, oh, I can't refer you because you have brown hair like I do. I was always referring people. I was always very giving with my connections, and it always served me well, because that person that you referred when you were 20 years old will end up becoming the executive producer on Dancing with the Stars that maybe you would have booked if you had a better if you had a better relationship with that person. Yeah. I'm just saying that's not what happened to me, but you just there was a PA on my show. I did this show called Robotica, which was, I don't know if you remember when BattleBots, Robot Wars were a huge successful show, right? So I was on one of the robot shows as a host. Anyway, the PA from that ended up becoming one of the executives on Dancing with the Stars. And he helped me up to he's like, I love you. I think you're amazing. He goes, I want you to host the show, but there's a whole panel of 8 other people. But just to know that, it was yet another, oh yeah, you have to work really hard, but also don't have an attitude when you start to get a little bit of success. You never know who's going to be your boss one day, who can hire you. So it's all these little things. But I would start off taking classes and get your network going. And now we have the internet, so we can take online courses. It's always better in person though, because then you can really make those connections.
Right.
And if you do have an audition, always send a thank you note, always, just be on top of it, never give up. And if it is that thing that you feel like that's the only thing you want to do in life, then you got to go for it. I mean, you just can't. Not.
Absolutely. Well, that's awesome advice. And I want to capitalize on that networking part too, before we jump off here, because I think that's extremely huge. And that's really what is going to be happening too at the Thrive Mastermind and the Global Beauty Awards that weekend, is massive networking. Just get your butt in the room, people. It's going to be amazing. So networking's huge. You never know. And, even just like what you were saying, you never know who's going to be hiring you. You never know, and the more that you refer people, the more that you have a giving and an open heart. So you're throwing that out to the universe. You're going to attract that back to you. If you're a giving person, the universe is how it works. It's a law of attraction. Will bring it back to you in your life. And so it's so cool to see that that's what.
Yeah. I mean, I don't do it with anybody. They have to earn that spot with me too, because you can also waste all of your time and referring people that don't deserve it. They're not prepared and they're not really, you can ruin your relationship.
And it's a reflection upon you too, if you send somebody who's not qualified.
Yeah. But on my last thing, which I never ever do this because I know we're we're tightening it up here. But the other thing that I would say, I just thought I have to say this: if you really want to make it in this business, get all of the negative people out of your life, because they will stop you. They'll start putting all these little thoughts in your mind, whether it's even if it's your parents or your brothers or your sisters or your cousins, whatever. It takes space away. But you will not make it in this business if you are influenced by any of this negative talk. Anyone putting you down or saying, yeah, whatever, what do you think you're going to be, a big movie star? Yeah, right. You don't need those people in your life. And the quicker you get them out, the faster you'll get to the top.
Amen. That goes for every industry. That goes for life. So that's excellent. I love ending on that note. So thank you, Tanya, for coming on today. It was just absolutely amazing having you. One of the coolest things about doing a podcast, and you've experienced this too with your Life Masters podcast, but you get to talk with your friends, and it's a good excuse to be like, hey, you want to come on my podcast? Let's talk.
Exactly.
Let's have some fun and talk about life and inspire others through it. So thank you so much. And for all of you listening, if you want to meet Tanya live at Thrive Mastermind and hear more of her story, more of her insight, as you can tell, she has a beautiful heart and a beautiful wealth of knowledge as well. And so I just love you dearly, friend. And I'm super excited.
I can't wait to see you at the Thrive Mastermind.
Woohoo! We're going to have a blast. We're going to thrive.
We're going to thrive. That's right.
All righty, girl. Have an awesome rest of your day. And thank you so much again for coming on.
Mwah.